Welcome, everyone, to the Wonder Boldly podcast. I am your host, Christine Santos, and I am passionate about motivating you to go after and achieve your goals. My goal is to encourage you to know that you also possess the choice to live the life you desire. This podcast covers lessons learned from female entrepreneurs and small businesses to tips on how to create a podcast that will help grow your business. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wonder Boldly. Today, I am so excited and truly honored to have Kate Assaraf with us today. She is the founder of Dip Sustainable Haircare, which aims to playfully educate people about the environment while encouraging them to buy better, buy less, and shop small. So obviously, when I heard of her and her product, I reached out to her and asked her to be on the podcast because that's what we're all about here. She has been featured in Allure, Cosmopolitan magazine, and in 2020, she was named Women of Courage, celebrating female leaders who think big, confront challenges head on, and never ever take the well-worn path, which I also think is so interesting. When she isn't behind the scenes branding or climbing trees with her two little boys, you can find her trail running, skiing, or surfing, and leading a genuinely eco-conscious life to help protect Earth's natural playground for future generations. Love all of that so much. Thank you, Kate, so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me here. I feel very honored to be invited. And then when you read the bio, it feels a little out of body. So thank you.
Thank you. So there's a couple of things right in there that I want to hit on. But before I do that and I get all excited, tell us how and why you developed Dip. And I think the conditioner bar was something that was really part of the sort of the foundation, but I'll let you tell the story. But I find that so interesting where we find a need in the market and then we go after that. So tell us a little bit about that story.
The story starts around 10 years ago when I was pregnant with my first son. I was reading this book and it talked about, it was called Boys Adrift, and my brother had given it to me, my older brother who already had two sons, and it was like how to raise a son that ends up being productive and what's changed in raising boys. It wasn't something I would normally pick up for myself, but my brother gave it to me and I was like, okay, I'll read this. And, it talked all about how kids don't spend a lot of time, boys don't spend a lot of time outside, like hunting with their fathers anymore, reading nature signs. It talked about how video games kind of let boys feel this primal dopamine hit that you'd normally get from accomplishing something, but instead they're just sitting in a chair. And then one of the things that they talked about was endocrine disruptors and specifically plastics. And the author, who's a pediatrician, he said that someone kind of tugged on his sleeve and talked about plastics being a problem for children and boys. And what he said was he went down this rabbit hole and found this study where plastic runoff from a factory was running into a river and it was making the male fish lay eggs, which is like if you've ever been in any kind of science or anything, like things aren't supposed to evolve that quickly and biology isn't supposed to change like that. And it's one of these things that there I was pregnant, basically incubating a boy drinking out of plastic water bottles, a few of them a day, like just ingesting. And I lived in New York City at the time. So I went down my own rabbit hole and saw that eating hot foods in takeout containers was like bad for pregnancy, and just those connections were being made a long time ago. Now, fast forward 10 years later, this has become a big topic of conversation. But in between these 10 years, everyone has been focusing on accumulation of plastic, but not really the plastic accumulation in the oceans and then in being shipped off to other countries. And so with all of that information, I was like, I'm going to try and take plastic out of my life. And I did. I took, not completely because that's impossible. You can't go to the supermarket without buying something in plastic, but everything that I could find plastic free, I tried to make those choices. So I got rid of plastic wrap and used the stasher bags instead of Ziplocs. And I started to make those changes in beauty. And one of the things that really annoyed me the most was the shampoo and conditioner bar. They've existed for a long time, but I couldn't I was projecting out that I was going plastic free, but really when I was alone in my shower, I would have a graveyard of shampoo and conditioner bars that I've tried. And then my hands would go for the luxury stuff in bottles. And so I was like, I can fix this. This is a problem I can fix. There are people out there like me that the plastic freeness of the product isn't going to keep them buying it. It has to be good first, and then the plastic free story can be just an added benefit later. And that's how Dip was born. I did everything I could to solve this problem.
And so, how did you come up with the solution for this product? That is one thing I'm always so fascinated by. We see maybe a pain point, and like you're trying to solve this problem. And then what's the step to say, okay, how do I develop a conditioner bar, shampoo bar? How does that happen?
So I have been in the beauty industry behind the scenes for almost 2 decades. So I had a lot of that just through living life and experience. You get the right connections, you learn the right people along the way. And so I didn't start this as someone outside of beauty industry and coming in. I think that's important for someone to hear because you can't be experienced when it comes to starting something. So I had been on the product development side of many projects in the beauty world. I'd been in the marketing teams. I'd been in sales. I'd kind of worn every single hat. And when it came to doing the Dip bar specifically, I found a chemist who had never made bars before, but what he had done very well for 40 years was make salon hair care, and not just for salons, but for some of those really prestige brands you see in hair care. And he'd been doing it for 4 decades. And I said to him, I was like, this is the problem I want to solve. And I don't want to benchmark any other bars out there. Because in beauty industry, what you do is you bring a competitive product. You're like, make this and change the marketing ingredients. I didn't want to take that path. I wanted something very new, very special, and very specific to our own brand that solved its own problems. I brought it to him and he was very into the project and agreed to do them exclusively for us. And that's 40 iterations later and 400 tests among people with different hair types. Dip came to be.
Wow. And I love how you called that out because that's really important, I think, for people to know in any industry. If you're an entrepreneur out there or you're just thinking about it or starting out, I think we talk a lot about starting from where you're at. So I was in corporate for 30 years developing medical software. So now I'm a podcast producer doing tech for practitioners. It helps for sure. And then there are definitely challenges. This entrepreneurship is so different than corporate. Oh my God, like I had no idea. But there are so many challenges, and you really have to be, I think, in my estimation, excited about it, passionate about it, because every day you come up against something, you have to learn something new. And so my question for you is, so what are some of the challenges that you face? So you came in, thank you for sharing that, with this knowledge, some connections and so forth, but still there are the challenges. And what are some of the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
So one of the biggest challenges was creating something new that was not conventionally made for environmentalists. It wasn't really for what environmentalists were used to. The people that considered themselves sustainable product buyers were already buying shampoo and conditioner bars and are happy with them. And that's great. This I approached as someone who would never touch another shampoo and conditioner bar ever. I was so tired of buying them and being angry that I wanted to create something that was specifically pull someone away from a very expensive salon brand and save them a lot of money so that the perception wasn't that it was more expensive. It was actually like a godsend. And the biggest challenge was trying to educate consumers who are used to like much cheaper bars. They see the competitive landscape. They're like, why would I buy Dip when I can buy the Trader Joe's one for, I don't know, it's like under $10. And it's hard to explain to people, this might not be for you. You're actually not the audience for this. The audience is actually someone who uses something that's like $50 to $70 a month in conditioner, and Dip will save that person $500 a year. And so re-educating, because everyone assumes they know who my customer is, and they're usually wrong. The people who are my customers are actually people who are switching from Oribe, Kerastase, Olaplex, Pureology. That's why Dip is on salon shelves. It's because it gives people an opportunity or a sustainable option for those brands. And that, I think, has been the biggest challenge. It continues to be a challenge all the time, but changing the consumer expectation of what sustainability is a challenge.
So you're very educated. I want to use the word smart. and wise about like marketing and about knowing that and understanding the pain point and knowing who you're targeting. And it reminds me of a conversation I had. I had this company on the podcast Wrapped, and basically they have developed cloth like wrapping paper, right?
Yeah,
So
I know who they are.
yeah, okay. And so interesting because I was chatting with them and I was thinking, okay, there's so many people out there who are like sustainable and let's reuse our bags and whatever. And they said that they learned that that's not their audience. Those are not the people that they're marketing to. And I just love that. I think that's so exciting. So can you share a little bit, like how does one sort of identify that, find out about it, research it more, educate us?
Whenever you launch a product, it has to be an obsession of your own. So you have to obsess over it like a crazy person. And that is basically what I did. I obsessed over the development, and I already knew that there was a solution and people liked bars, just not someone like me. And it's because I would purchase very expensive hair. Is some people love bags, some people love shoes, some people love clothes. I love hair. I could wear the same white t-shirt and blue jeans every day. And if I have my hair looking amazing, it's like the thing of joy for me. And I also have had every kind of hair. I've had everything. I had a purple beehive at one point. I had which I just wore with a white t-shirt and a leather jacket every day. I've had platinum blonde hair. I've had silver hair, purple hair. I've had box braids and extensions. I've had any color, any length. I've done it all except a pixie. I've never done a pixie, but everything else. So hair is something that just feeds my soul. And when I see someone with cool hair color, cool haircut, or just like something statement about their hair, it like it makes me, I don't know, it just makes me so happy. I focused really on other people that take a lot of pride and care in their hair. And I know that it's not fair to say that people that buy the other bars don't do that. But there's definitely a market of people that really buy prestige products. And I know because I'm one of them. And I wanted to solve a few problems. Like for me, I'm a runner and I run every day. And so I wanted to make the shampoo gentle enough that I could do that. So I can use it on my hair every day. Because conventionally you see out there, don't shampoo every day. And I'm like, why? What if we made it just gentle so you could? So beyond it just being prestige, it has its place in the market. So if you, not only if you're a runner, but if you're a nurse or if you work in a restaurant in and out of the kitchen where you have to shower every day in between shifts, like the dip bar is there for you. And maybe if you're someone that showers like once or twice a week, it's might not be the right thing for you, but that's okay. Like I don't need to sell every bar to every person. And then the conditioner bar for me, like I get very upset when I see how fast I go through luxury conditioner with long hair. So I was going through a $50 to $70 bottle every month. It was unrecyclable plastic. It was very much wasteful and felt a little frivolous. And when I have to look at like price increases on groceries versus like my luxury conditioner, it's just, it started to make me feel really weird, you know? Yeah. And so the conditioner bar solves that problem for someone. You could buy the one dip conditioner bar and it can last most people a year. Sometimes it lasts people 2 years. Sometimes it lasts someone 8 months, depending on frequency of showers, length of hair. But generally, the good estimate is about a year for the conditioner bar. And that saves me personally $500 a year just in my expensive conditioner habit. And it is the thing that like surprises people about dip the most. And it is made for someone who's used to prestige hair care. It's some people who are used to, I would say, a less intense conditioner say that it's almost like too hydrating. And that always cracks me up because that's what I want more than anything.
And one other thing I want to point out is that it doesn't melt.
No, eventually it will. But the idea is I always used to bring a bottle of conditioner to the beach, like even if it was a cheap one, because I surf and I play in the water. You cannot keep me out of the water if there's a good time. Like I've never been one of those women on the sidelines. I always like to cannonball in and have fun. And a lot of times I know that my friends don't jump in the water and play because of their hair. They don't want to deal with their hair after. And I'm one of those people. That's why I always had the conditioner with me. But a liquid conditioner curdles and separates in the sun. So the dip conditioner, I wanted to make sure that it was beautiful out in the wild also. So you come out of the ocean, and this is good if you have kids with long hair also, like little girls with long, tangly hair that love to play in the pool or the ocean. Like you just dip the bar in water, run it down your hair, air dry and go when you're done swimming. You don't even need to rinse it out. And that was like a big piece of a problem I wanted to solve too. And it's why dip has a cult following in the surf community. It's because everyone has this problem of like sticky hair when it's stuck to the back of your neck. And that was a thing I was like, you know what? While I'm at it, I'll make sure it replaces that conditioner too.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because everything you said, I'm sure the listeners hear it, and I just want to call it out, is you were developing this for yourself, with yourself in mind. And I always say that, right? Develop for yourself. Like it's
Yeah.
what do you need? And you've said that.
Yeah. And I know it's because I knew I had to talk about it for hopefully the rest of my life. I have to talk about this. But you have to make it that it really means something to someone. It solves a problem for someone. And these are very emotional problems for me anyway. Not being able to shower every day, which means you have to coordinate your workouts or your runs. Like if you're training for a marathon or half marathon, like you need to go most days a week. And you can't like have a hat on or bun, like a messy bun for a normal life all the time. I suppose you can, but it's for someone like me that just loves to have my hair done, like it's not an option. And I know that I'm not that unique in that sense.
Yeah.
Like I know there are people that have to show up on Zoom every day and want to look their best, at least their top half. Who knows what pajama pants are like lurking under the surface.
Exactly.
Or at least your top half, you want to look presentable if you're professional. And I find that if you don't live your product, it's very hard to sell.
Okay, I love that. Say that again for us.
If you don't live your own products, it's very hard to sell.
I love that. And so, if I may, I'd like to turn us to some of the fun marketing that you do with Dip. So,
Okay.
right now in July, it's like the odd days of July,
Yeah.
Unhinged. Tell us about
Yeah,
that.
it's every year we do unhinged plastic-free July. Plastic-free July is like notoriously a boring time of year. And for me, I see like sustainable content and I want to yawn because it's way more fun when it feels like a party. So we've made it a party online. So every odd day we launch some wackadoodle contests. They're different almost every year. There's a couple evergreen contests, but for the most part, I spend the year coming up with different ones for every year. And our customers, we don't like hashtag them or advertise them or anything. It's just our customer appreciation month. And we just give out gift cards left and right and celebrate the very funny people we call it of Dipland, like our followers. Because honestly, I feel very lucky that someone likes my brand enough to follow it a whole year. You already bought it and you're still following. And that like, I don't take that for granted, like followers. Like they're real people that really love my brand enough to stay with it every day. Like that's kind of a big deal. And I wish more entrepreneurs viewed their followers that way instead of kind of just a vanity metric. And so because we don't advertise really, the people on our feed are actual customers. And so they're really fun and really engaged on getting these prizes through.
Yeah, it's so fun reading some of the comments. I think it's like an 80s, 90s theme. What's currently
Yeah.
happening right now?
It's always rooted in like millennial like humor. I was a child of the 80s. I graduated high school in 2001, so the jokes and references are very much of that time. However, what I do is I make it so that you don't have to know all of the references in order to play. Like I purposely make the games like hard to chat GPT and hard to kind of game. And so the people that enter are all real people and it's just silly. And every even day we announce winners and that's even more fun because like it's a celebration. It's just a party.
Yeah, yeah. That's so fun. And I know for myself, I enjoy watching it and looking at it. But now to hear you talk about it and put that sort of entrepreneurship lens on it, if you will, I love that.
Yeah, it's my most fun time of the year. It's where I get to know the most about our customers. We always are accumulating more customers over the year that kind of jump into our social media and don't really know what to expect. So it's really fun to see someone. There are people that are like certain names I see every year. They always win something. And there's always new people winning that are like, oh, I didn't think anyone actually won these things. But yeah, we do. And I love interacting with customers because I'm so thankful for them being here. Like there's a weird culture like of business owners wanting to keep a huge canyon between themselves and their customers. And I like being accessible to our customers on Instagram. I only keep myself truly accessible there and obviously on email. But I think if I buy something from someone, there should be a human way to interact and celebrate what you've purchased. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got to give that some thought. That's really fun and interesting. So tell us about, you had mentioned on another podcast, you're not wanting to be the Amazon of hair care. I forget, I might be butchering it, but
Yeah.
it gave me this impression you're meeting a certain market and you're not looking to have this in everybody's hands, like you said earlier. Can you tell us more about that?
So I think about imagine someone in your town that opens a pizza place and they do really well with it and they service that one community. Just say this is like location based, right? They service that one community. No one's pressuring them to be a franchise and you need a pizza place in every town and you go and run yourself ragged. And I find that it's weird with a beauty brand. People often misunderstand when they're like, what's next? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm just going to keep servicing the customers that really love what we do. I'm not on this like global expansion path because I am able to pay my employees well. I'm able to spend time with my family and I'm able to wake up with a sense of purpose and not a sense of dread about my company. And I don't need to be in an Ulta, Sephora, Amazon, all these places in order to consider myself successful. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of pressure on people when they start businesses. They're like, when are you gonna, and fill in the blank, like big lofty thing. And I don't know if that's what everyone wants. It's certainly not what I want. I know many brands that get into Target or Ulta or Sephora, and that becomes like the death of them because it's very difficult to manage those accounts without the right team. And I don't have the team for that, nor the passion. Like I'm not that passionate about sending someone to Amazon to buy our products. Or what I am passionate about is getting someone into their local refillery or their local hair salon or their local surf shop, which are generally independently owned, so that when someone makes a purchase, their money works for them in their town. So if you purchase dip from a store in your town, that store pays taxes that pay for, your sidewalks, your EMTs, your firefighters, your libraries, your teachers. And that to me is a much bigger badge of honor than having a quick add to cart on some other retailer site.
I love that. Okay, so I got there because I wanted to say, and now is a good time, where can people go and find it?
Sure. If you're interested in doing a deeper dive, you can go to dipalready.com. And there you can purchase products if you want. Or if you're a little bit curious, click on the store locator and you can find a place in your town that carries dip. And if you're lucky, it's very close to you. We're in about 400 or 500 stores in between there somewhere around the country. And we really encourage you to shop with them. But if you can't find everything you're looking for, or there's nothing close enough to you, of course, shop online and it come right to your doorstep. And if you are curious about our Plastic Free July or any of those things, just go to @dipalready. And that's the same handle for TikTok and Instagram. But Instagram is really where like the party happens. And yeah, you can find us there and interact however you want.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kate, for being here. I really appreciate it. You're just a wealth of knowledge and I'm just so inspired by you, honestly. Like, I think you should also offer like business classes. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel, maybe it's a little imposter syndrome. I don't know if I'm in any kind of position to do that. But if someone was like, hey, do you want to own a business that like leads to a little bit more happiness than the other route? Like maybe I can help with that.
Yeah. I feel like I learned so much in just this short time together. I'm like all inspired now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks really so much. And thank you everyone who listened to the end.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a 5-star review and recommend it to a friend. This shows me the impact my podcast is making and helps spread these messages so more people can listen to this podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and I hope this podcast motivates and inspires you to pursue your dreams. Until next time, continue to wonder boldly.